Hi friends! Today I'm going to share with you a little bit of the extra content that's in my new book, Daniella and the Queen's Magic Potion. Now, after you finish reading the story with your child, there are some questions, and it says, let's have a think and a chat. Who are the main characters in this story?
I think the girl and the queen.
Yes, I think so too. Yeah, Daniella and the Queen. And there's a few more questions here that I've put for discussion. What problems or challenges did Daniella face in this story?
That all of her friends weren't by her side anymore.
Yeah.
And she had to, she got fired from her job.
What was your favorite part of the story?
That she never gave up and she still believed in herself.
Fantastic. Did any part of the story make you feel sad?
A little bit. When Daniella, she was all left out.
Yeah. Have you ever felt left out before?
A lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah. She really did feel left out. Did any part of the story make you feel happy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What sort of part of the story made you feel happy?
When the queen got...
Do you think Daniella made a wise choice? Why or why not? If you were Daniella, is there anything you would have done differently? If you could change one thing about the story, what would it be? Did you like the ending? Why or why not? Which page or illustration do you like best? Is there a lesson you can learn from this story? How many yellow kites did you find? Now I put little kites, yellow kites, hidden in every spread of the book. That's a bit of fun for the kids. I also included the real story, real account from Bella, who is Daniella, and this is who I wrote this book about. So here's her words. It felt like I was having a bad dream, and I couldn't wake myself up. But it was real. In 2021, my life was turned upside down. I was just 23. I would lose my dream job with a major sporting organization. My roommates would ask me to move out. I was no longer free to go to cafes, movies, concerts, football games, and so much more. I wasn't even allowed to travel in airplanes or across state borders. All because I refused to take it. The voices of our Australian leaders and media declared that people like me were selfish. I was going to make everyone sick. I would be responsible for the deaths of countless people, and then I should be locked out of society unless I obeyed. Those in power were going to see to it that my life would be as miserable as possible. Deep in my heart, I knew that I didn't need the COVID vaccine. I also knew that God had my back, and I could put my trust in Him. But this was the toughest decision of my life, and it was just plain awful. On deadline day, I was summoned into head office to present my case. Overwhelmed with emotions and tears streaming down my face, I said no. The following days were a blur of heartache and despair, uncertain of my future and what lay ahead. Thankfully, I had the unwavering support of my incredible family, who stood by me and helped me navigate this terrible time of persecution, division, and isolation. Little did I know at the time that God had magnificent plans in store for me, plans that would even surpass my wildest dreams and expectations. Stay strong, Bella, in Joshua 1:9. Very good verse. So there is the real girl that this story is written about. Now there is another story in here of a real person. It was because of this story that I thought of Bella, and I thought, she is a real-life Daniel. I was making a video for my channel about Daniel and the king's food, and that's what made me think of the people I knew who were being Daniels during this time. Daniel and the king's food. Daniel chapter 1, summary. In the year 605 BC, Daniel was a young man living in Jerusalem when King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon invaded and took him captive along with many other young men from prominent families. They were brought to Babylon, where the king ordered his officers to find the strongest, healthiest, handsomest, and smartest young men from all the slaves. Daniel and 3 of his friends were among those chosen for 3 years of special training. They were given new names and had to learn the language and customs of their captors. They were also fed rich food and wine from the king's table, which Daniel knew went against the dietary laws of his people and his God. Rather than giving into the temptations of luxury and privilege, Daniel was determined not to defile himself with the king's food. He requested that he and his friends be given only vegetables and water to eat, instead of rich food and wine. His captors were hesitant at first, but eventually agreed to Daniel's request. Over time, Daniel and his friends grew stronger and healthier than all the other young men who had been eating food from the king's table. When the training period was complete, all the young men were brought to King Nebuchadnezzar for an interview. He soon discovered that none of the others were as outstanding as Daniel and his friends. Consequently, the king granted Daniel and his friends the top positions in his royal palace. And then I've written, Daniel's story teaches us the importance of standing firm in our beliefs, even in the face of great adversity. Daniel and his friends refused to compromise, and this did not go unnoticed. God gave them favor in the eyes of their captors, and they were blessed with knowledge and wisdom beyond their years. The Bible says they were 10 times wiser than all others in Babylon. And I put a little QR code that takes you to my little YouTube clip about that story using little puppets. So that is also in the book. Now, what else is here? Oh, I give a little information of why I wrote Daniella's story. In 2021, I began asking God, why are there so many voices spreading fear, oppression, and division? Through prayer and reading the scriptures, God revealed to me that I should put my trust in Him and not in the rulers of this world. As the hurricane of fear raged on day after day, month after month, stories of people with great courage began shining through. It made me think of Daniel from the Bible, and it occurred to me that these people are the Daniels or Daniellas of our time. And I'd like to share their stories. So here's the real-life story of a brave young woman who stood strong through an overwhelming storm of adversity. I pray Daniella's story helps sow seeds of faith, strength, and courage for children and their parents for many years to come. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in His mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Ephesians 6:10-12. And then I have some information about the author, about myself. Susan Wright spent most of her growing up years in Orlando, Florida in 1988 while serving overseas on a mission project. She met her Mr. Wright, who happened to be a charming Aussie. She then became Mrs. Wright, moved down under, and now has 4 adult children. Susan is a professional teacher with a Bachelor of Science in Education in Early Childhood and Elementary from Auburn University in the USA and a Master of Education from the University of Queensland, Australia. For most of her week, she is a faith educator in schools and church. However, in 2016, she began an online YouTube ministry where she teaches and supports parents, volunteers, and educators all over the world. Recently, Susan has ventured into writing and publishing several children's books that are sure to be enjoyed by countless children, teachers, and families. Scan the QR code to view Write Ideas with Susan YouTube channel. About the illustrator. Lee Groves lives in the Darling Downs, Queensland, Australia. Lee has brought Daniella's story to life using her favorite mediums of watercolor and colored pencil. She enjoyed collaborating with Susan to create humorous characters and situations that appeals to children and adults. Be sure to check out Lee Groves' art on Instagram. And at the very front, I have put a dedication page, and it says, "For the Daniellas and the Daniels who dare to stand alone. Be on your guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong, and do everything with love." 1 Corinthians 16:13-14. Also, at the back of the book, there's a poster there that can be cut out, framed, and hung on the wall. Well, thanks so much for joining me and getting a little bit of the backstory of this book. It's been in the making for over a year now, and I just really appreciate the encouragement of those who have encouraged me in this, and I also am praying that it'll be a blessing to many people and an encouragement to teach our children to stand firm in their beliefs, even when everybody else is going a different way. God will honor that. So thanks again, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.